Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brandon.
And Carrie.
Hey guys, today we wanted to go over some symbology and some decoding of a movie we watched recently called Wish. It's a new movie that came out. It's a Disney movie, and we're gonna try and not go off on all the tangents of the service level decodes of what Disney is and all this stuff that they stand for. We just want to break down the movie and tell you kind of what we saw. So I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, and I'm going to let Carrie kind of give her 2 cents and tell us what she saw. It's about a girl who is going to an island, and on this island, your dreams can come true. So I immediately thought never-ending story, Neverland, going to a place of mystical capability. Well, on this island, there is a king. His name's King Magnifico, and he is kind of like your white knight, shining armor. He wears a cloak, kind of like a wizard. He calls himself a sorcerer. It's a white one and a blue one. The cloak he wears. He's all chiseled. He's got blue eyes, and when you get to this island, he's the ruler of it, and he will. The secret is he will have you be convinced that what you are telling him, which is your dream, to give it to him for safekeeping. But when you do that, he then immediately puts a spell on you, essentially having you forget what your dream was.
And it makes you weaker.
Yeah, it definitely makes you weaker.
People weaker. Yeah.
Yes, it gives you that Stockholm syndrome, that servant mentality. And this little girl ends up going to an interview to become an assistant to this sorcerer. And while in there, on the way to his castle, she talks to his wife, who tells her not to ask to see the wishes, that it won't happen. She kind of comes in aggressively, and then once the young girl, it's a black girl with like dreadlocks and a purple outfit. She then meets the king, and he kind of quizzes her on different things and tries to get to know to get to know this character a little bit better, and to find out what her dream is what he's trying to do. Well, she ends up finding the dream room where he keeps all these. They're like little blue orbs, and he keeps everybody's dreams suspended in this room. And she looks at these dreams, and she's wondering why these aren't granted and why they're kept hidden. What specifically is keeping them safe, and how that works. Well, when he pulls down one of the dreams, specifically her grandfather's, who she wants to have granted, he tells her that it's not a good wish, that it's a bad wish, that things could go wrong with it. So again, putting the fear mindset into people, also controlling what he finds to be true and right, and not letting anybody else into that world of his. Well, she of course rebels against that. He kicks her out. She's kind of lost in what to do, and then one night she goes to the shoreline and wishes upon a star. Just so happens this star comes to her in the form of a higher self, or a spiritual guide. I don't even like that word. Not guide, but more of just a true spirit, higher self type deal. And it's full of love and laughter, and it's just a really cute little thing on the movie screen. And with this, she then wants to tell her friends and awaken them to what's really going on, that this guy is taking the wishes and making you forget what your wish was, waiting for the savior to come grant your wish type deal. All right, so without going too far into the whole ruining the movie for you, I'm going to let Carrie jump in here and kind of give a little bit of a breakdown on what she saw so far.
Well, what I saw was that the king, who was kind of self-appointed, he was a self-taught sorcerer who had consumed all of the sorcery information, magic, around the world because he had felt powerless as a child, apparently. And so he decided he wasn't going to do that anymore. So he empowered himself by learning all the sorcery and magic that he could. And then he became powerful with it and learned how to wield that power. And so he created an island paradise, and um, and then he recruited people to come out there. And I don't remember what that process was, but he got a pretty good population out there, uh, because that was the place where their wishes would be granted, everything they wanted would be taken care of. Everybody, uh, was kind and sweet and loving and all this. And so, uh, and then every year or every month, uh, when they reached 18 years of age, they had a ceremony where they would surrender voluntarily their uh,
Their life force, really, their
life,
wish.
yeah, their soul, basically. I think, uh, to this king, and he kept them all in a special room where they were just bubbles, basically, and they were called their wish. But what happened is when that thing was extracted from them, uh, their whole life force changed, and their uh, demeanor changed. Suddenly they had hopelessness, uh, and those kinds of things, and so all the hope was tied up in the uh, in those little bubbles that were floating around.
And even with her friends, like her group of like 5 or 6 friends, you could see the different expressions or emotions within each one.
Yeah,
Like one was very depressed, one was super shy, one was very anxious, one was the baker for his cookies or something. They all feared this individual.
right. And so it was things and it was that they could not remember it. They knew they went through the ceremony, and he made the ceremony sound like it was a big thing, and that he was their guardian, and he would take good care of that little light bubble, or their wish, their special wish. Of it was basically goals and dreams that you wanted to accomplish in the world. But I think it was more than that. Really, I think it was your life force, the good in it, and or the positive, maybe that was it. But anyway, so she discovers this, and that she was able to see some of the wishes, discovers that uh, they were not evil, even though he sat there and told her that they were, and that he needed to take care of everything for them, and go on and on about what a good job he was doing. So she starts to tell people about what's going on, and some believed her, some did not. I think eventually they demand their wishes back, and he has a fit, and so he goes back in the room, and basically what he does is extracts the life force energy from each of those wishes and made himself stronger. And then he goes and devours the information in the forbidden book of sorcery. And so what it did was amplify the negative energy. And so then he just became egomaniac, uh, where he's a narcissist before, he became super narcissist, and uh, and then began inflicting punishment and different kinds of pains on the people who were wanting their wishes back. So what I kind of thought was that this is a picture of the copy version of the quote unquote heaven, where you're supposed to just have joy and gladness and happy and get everything you want. Basically, where all your dreams come true, your wishes, kind of like uh, actually the song for Disney that Jiminy Cricket sings
Mm-hmm.
about your wishes coming true.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a when you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. That is one way that they keep us in this system, is by keeping the humans happy. And so what I mean by that is that um, there was a slogan for the milk industry a few years ago, and it was "Happy cows produce better milk." And so it goes with the same thing. Is that well, I know in having worked in the meat and food industry, that stressed cattle or stressed animals, even plants, will produce a tougher uh, product for consumption. It will have it won't be as flavorful. It will be just more difficult to work with, and so. it makes sense that real farmers, not the industry, but that they would try to keep their cattle very happy and very healthy, uh, because it produces a better marketable item, and the end product is higher quality. And so if we look at that in terms of uh, the blue liquid product on a
Jupiter ascending.
yeah,
Yeah.
that they were extracting, that it took 100 humans to make one vial.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, and that's why they make them uh, oblivious to what's going on while they're extracting their product that buys them more time, because that is the only thing that's important in this universe of finite situation is buying more time. So I know a lot of people say that uh, time is a construct that's not real. Each density or each layer, I think, has its own type of time, and it's an expense at different rates. Kind of like when you exchange money in one country to another, you get a different exchange rate. Um, and so it's just that it's different. It does loop. Uh, it's in short lines, it's in long line or line segments, because everything here ends. But anyway, so I saw the island as a type of heaven, and this king has set himself up as a type of god uh, that mimics something else. So these are facsimiles; these are copies of something else, still in the containment.
God being grantor of domain.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
one
Yeah,
way.
dominion, yes. And so, and then what I noticed was that the humans involved with this were uh, what in the the stories about Enki and Enlil, and Enki is pointing out, which means Lord of the Earth. Uh, it is that he points out that the black-headed ones are mine, is what he said, and so that would be some of the more original.
Melanated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
peoples. And so I think those are the indigenous ones. And so, everyone's going to have their own different opinion and whatever. I don't mean anything racist at all. Um, the I'm just trying to throw some things out. I think they were the cultures in a variety of different uh, types, because African people are not the same as Indian people, or some Chinese people, or uh, from the different countries now. Some of them have just as dark a skin as any, and so it's not just one thing. It's I think a previous or an earlier version, and then these other entities, like is exemplified in this movie, who incidentally he comes in with light skin, light blue eyes, light hair, and he's dressed in blue and white. Well, I can think of two flags that are blue and white, and it's light blue, and that's a UN flag, and I'm not going to name the little country, but I will ask the question, is Ra L? And so if you can answer that, then you probably have a pretty good idea of who I'm talking about. So I think that this is where that gene pool eventually mixes with the people and uh, teaches a lot more, the intellect or whatever. It all goes back to the Inky and Enlil stories as well, where they started mixing in more of their Anunnaki blood. But I think this movie basically is about a hijacking, and he talks these people into coming and then to surrendering to him their soul, basically, is what I saw. Telling them it was just a wish, and I think it's their memory, their recollection of who they really are. But by the end of the movie, I think they all got their own wishes back, or their souls were returned.
It was all was restored, and he was trapped in a mirror.
That's right.
And he was begging to get out.
And his wife crushed the mirror or something.
She crushed the mirror.
Yeah.
When he was doing all of his, I don't know, we can call it transmuting all the wishes into power. It turned to from a blue to a green, and then on the screen of the infinity Ouroboros, the figure 8 horizontal, and it basically, that to me was a big red flag in that That's the copy and the inverted version of the copy.
Yeah.
That you're trapped, like the dark versus the false light, the dark age versus the golden age, the positive, the negative, and it looks like an hourglass, of course, but trapped in time and space, in a false reality that is made of chaos.
And I think we're the ones that brought light into it and life.
Yes.
And
they got us creating for them through
exactly.
subliminal messaging,
Yeah.
using our subconscious by programming and propaganda. They have us creating the reality they want.
Well, yeah, in a sense, but it's the reality we want as well, because we're making the world a better place, because that is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this is not our home, and so we can only do that insofar as it gives us hope, because hope, if anyone's familiar with the Greek stories about Zeus and Pandora's box, everything was dispersed upon humanity, all the negative emotions, basically, and the only thing left at the bottom of the box was hope. And that was because it gave the humans something to cling to those entities with. So the other powers were all, I would call, devouring powers, are emotions,
mm-hmm.
energies. And then hope was the one that set people up to continue to endure all of the other crap that was released. But because they had hope, they would endure it because they hoped that Zeus would save them, or that whatever entity would save them. In fact, they've done research on rats, and they would put them in water, and if they never rescued them or showed up around them, they would last and swim for only like an hour. And then they found that after so much time, it might have been 3 hours, they could swim, and then they drowned them, which I thought was horrid. But then the next thing they did was they rescued it after such a period of time, and then they put it right back in the hellhole, and it kept treading water again for another 2 or 3 hours, and they rescued it again, and then it would go again for another 2 or 3, because it had hope that at any moment somebody was going to come and rescue it.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's kind of the same idea, is that he wanted the people to keep thinking that's what he was doing, the king, but he had them building his kingdom,
all working for him,
while thinking that it was for their own happiness and stuff. And I guess something that it really hit me in that movie is the thing about a lot of people say that we are here on this plane to be happy. And I will tell you, my opinion is that no, we are not. That's part of the deception.
That's the ignorance. Ignorance is bliss.
That's because we come from happiness and joy. We are the joyful expressions of the imperceivable, ineffable oneness. And so our default in us is going to be one of deep inner joy, not the bubbly over happy. There's a big difference. Happy is something that's pretty much transient and affected by different circumstances. Mm-hmm. There's a deeper level of joy that may or may not manifest outwardly like that, but it still is there. And but the whole thing of hope, I think, is to keep us clinging to something that eventually is really never going to happen.
I totally agree. My closing comments would be, guys, to stand in your power, remember who you are, remember to never give up hope, not only for yourself, but for your higher self, and be in gratitude for that spirit leading the way.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to call upon your own higher self, but be specific. Don't just accept every little voice that comes to you or at you, especially if it's something that's not jiving with your own inner being.
Yeah, just keep asking why.
Yeah.
I mean, people, they have their spirit guides, there's people who channel, there's mystics, there's councils, there's all these titles But the one that's the quietest is probably the one you should be listening to.
Yeah, the still small voice that comes to you in the quiet. You'll know because its presence is peaceful. Uh, the others are. Yeah, I got my own theories about what they are, and none of them. I think they're part of the deception. And so a lot of people are tied into these different entities, and they're telling them what is true for this uh, zone, I guess.
They're telling them a half truth,
but only enough knowledge to keep them embedded here, and not anything that would actually allow them to transcend everything here and move on.
I like that. Trans and
Ending the trance, yeah.
Between ascension and descension.
Yeah. So what if on the next one we talk a little bit about trance ending and the declarations that we were talking about a while ago?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.